welcome to Shark Attack. I am your host, Chloe Griffin, and for the rest of this class, you are going to be learning about all things sharks. Now we're going to get started by pulling out your binder. Your binder will have a lot of really cool printouts that you can look through to learn more about sharks. So in the first page of your binder, you're going to see what description we have for our course. Now with each day, we're going to have a different lesson, and here you can see each of the different parts of the course. The first day, we're going to create your very own shark. That's what we'll be doing in this video. The next day, we will be looking at some shark bookmarks, and you'll make your own shark cootie catcher. On your third day, you will design your very own shark that you can present to everyone else. Now, you will have a couple of different supplies for this class, and we'll get to a little bit of that more later. But for right now, we're going to go ahead and dive into learning by learning about different types of sharks. So, we're going to start off with what you have here as your learning tracker. Here I want you to go ahead and think, what do I already know about sharks? Maybe you've heard the song Baby Shark. Maybe you've heard something called Shark Week. Well, go ahead and write down everything that you know about sharks in your first column of your shark learning tracker. All right, now the next thing I want you to think about is, what do I want to know about sharks? This is really important because you're going to be learning a lot this week. And if you go ahead and think, what do I want to know? You'll listen better for what I have to say about what you want to know about sharks. All right, now this third box is really important. This is where you're going to write down everything you learn about sharks. All right, so keep this safe. We're going to be using this all week long, learning about our sharks. All right, now look at your next page in your binder, and this is where we're going to learn what makes a shark a shark. Well, you might think of sharks, wow, they're big, right? They're scary. They can be really intimidating, huh? Well, that's not always the case. Sharks sometimes can be scary, but they're always really, really cool. So we're going to learn a little bit about what's called shark anatomy. So what does the word anatomy mean? That really just means that we're going to learn about the different parts of a shark and what makes a shark a shark. Well, we know that sharks tend to be really big fish, right? That's what we think. They're fish that eat other fish. That happens most of the time. But it actually turns out that over half of all sharks are less than 3 feet long. 3 feet. Do you know how long that is? That's shorter than you are. Wow, that's crazy, right? So there's actually a lot of small sharks. And there's some things about sharks that makes them different than other fish. For instance, sharks have these really special type of scales. They're called placoid scales. And that makes them have this really tough skin, and that's really handy when they're swimming around in the ocean. Well, if you look at your shark anatomy sheet, you can see that they have really rough gray skin. Now, this is specifically talking about a great white shark. That's one type of shark, but this applies to most different types. Now, sharks have these really cool eyes, and you can see it's just like we have eyes, but they have eyes that allow them to see in really dark and cloudy water. And you can think that would be really nice, especially for sharks deep, deep, deep in the ocean. Sharks also have gills. Now, gills are things on the side of the shark's head that allows them to breathe underwater. A lot of fish have these, and you can think maybe that's the difference of why they can breathe underwater and why we can't. Now, sharks also have really sharp teeth, and that's what we tend to think about when it comes to thinking about sharks at the beach, for instance. So a lot of times people will go to the beach and they'll find shark teeth. And now this doesn't necessarily have to hurt the shark, because if you think about humans, we have baby teeth. Baby teeth will grow and then they'll fall out and we'll get adult teeth. Well, sharks have really cool teeth because they have rows and rows and rows. So as these fall out, they actually have a lot that go in and they replace them. Sharks also have very important fins. And this is what you think about whenever you see something on TV that has a shark. If you see somebody at the beach and they scream, "Shark!" you can think of that little fin that's going along the top of the water. That's what we call the dorsal fin. And the really cool thing is that they not only have dorsal fins that make them so special, they also have something that we like to call pectoral fins. I know, that's like the craziest word ever, right? Pectoral, that sounds insane. But really, that just means that they're fins on the side of the shark's body, right? So that's how they can swim through the water, and that's how they can glide really nicely. Now, all of these are really important to making a shark a shark. Now, sharks have some other pretty cool things about them, too. They also have what we like to think of as a sixth sense. That's crazy, right? We have 5 senses. And sharks actually have an extra one, right? So they not only can see, hear, smell, touch, they can also have this really cool ability to sense electrical signals in the water. That sounds crazy, right? Electrical signals. What does that mean? Well, that means that whenever a fish swims or even a person goes into the water and they move, sharks are able to detect that from really, really far away. They can just tell. It's super awesome. It really makes them really awesome hunters in the water and helps them to survive. All right, so these are just some really cool things about sharks, but to get you a more hands-on experience, you're actually going to make your own. And we'll talk a little bit more about sharks when we do that. So now we get into the fun part. So first, we're going to make our shark plate craft. All right, so how do we do this? We're going to go ahead and get out some supplies, and you'll have all of these in your backpack. So just look with me for a second, and you're going to be making something that looks like this. All right, so this is your shark plate craft, and in your binder, you actually have some instructions as well. So you have 2 pages, and make sure you have a grown-up around for this part. That's pretty important because you're going to have to be cutting out some things and using some sharp scissors. So just really be careful for that. All right, so now we're going to take out some supplies. You're going to take out your gray paint and your paintbrush and one of the paper plates. So you should just have a paper plate. So go ahead and get that out. And the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to take a minute, you're going to get these out, and you are going to go ahead and paint your plate gray. All right, so go ahead and get out these couple of supplies. Go ahead and paint your plate, and this might take a little while for it to dry. So go ahead and pause the video for a second, get this out, go ahead and paint it. Mine's already painted. As you can see, it's not too hard. Just make sure that you're getting the side of the plate that you're going to eat off of, if you think of it. So it's going to be the very top. All right, so go ahead, take a minute and do that. The next thing you're going to get out are some scissors. Now you should have a pair of scissors inside of your bag, and make sure you have an adult around. And then you're also going to get out some construction paper. And you should have a red, black, and a white sheet of construction paper. And you're going to take out your glue stick. Now these are all really important so that way you can make your shark. You'll also want a pencil around or even a colored pencil. That way you can sketch out some things for you to make your parts of your shark. So we're going to start off by just making some parts, and then we're going to put it all together. So go ahead and pause the video if you need to and take some of these things out. All right, so the next thing we're going to do, once you have your plate painted and you give it a little bit of time to dry, you are going to go ahead and grab your white piece of construction paper, and we're going to start off by making the really, really cool part of the shark, just one of them, and that's the eyes. So you can take something that you have, go ahead and find something around your house. This part's really easy, and you're going to want to get something that's shaped like a circle on the bottom. So for instance, I have this, this is just from my house. It's some ground red pepper, for instance, and it has just this nice circle on the bottom. And you can ask for a grown-up for help if you need to. Or you could even use something like a cup, like this, that has another circle on the bottom. Anything around your house, just make sure it's not too big, that way it'll fit on your plate. And this is what we're going to use to make our eyes. So all you're going to have to do is place your cup on the sheet of paper, and you can get your pencil, and you're just going to trace around. This can be anything that's a circle. You're just going to trace around to go ahead and get your design for your eyes. All right, so you're going to make 2 of these because sharks have 2 eyes, right? They have one on one side of their head and one on the other. So you're going to make 2 of these circles. And then you're going to get an adult, or you, if you have some really good, cutting skills, then you're going to go ahead and get your scissors and you're going to cut these out. Now, I already have these cut out, so you can go ahead and either get a grown-up or do this yourself, pause the video and go ahead and cut out 2 eyes. Awesome. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to make the pupils for the eyes. So of course you can't just have, those big white spots for eyes because we don't have that. Think about it. We have these little pupils. So we're going to give our shark those as well. So you kind of have 2 choices in this part. Make sure you have your black construction paper, and you can just draw 2 circles. Make sure they're smaller than your big circles, and you can draw those kind of near each other and just cut those out as well. Now you could just cut out 2 little circles if you feel really good about that. It's okay if they're not perfectly sized. They don't really have to be the same. You can have a really goofy looking shark if you want. That's totally fine. All right, so just take a minute, pause the video, and cut those out. All right, so I already have my little eyes, my little pupils right here. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to glue our pupils onto the big white parts of our eyes. So here I have the 2 white parts of my eyes, and I have the 2 little tiny black parts that are the pupils. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 2 big whites of my eyes, and we're going to just put the black pupil somewhere on there. And again, you can have a really wacky shark, so it's totally fine to put them wherever you want. But you're going to take your glue stick, and you're going to glue the pupil side of your eye, just one of these little black guys, and you're going to just spread the glue onto the back, just like that. And you're going to put it right here, anywhere you want on the white side. And there we have one eye. Awesome. Then you're going to get the next one, and you're going to go ahead, get some glue on the back, and do the same thing. And again, it doesn't really matter where you put it. You probably don't want it directly in the center, and put it more toward the side. But anywhere you want is totally fine. And here we have 2 eyes. Wow, awesome. Good job. So these are going to go on our plate, but we're going to do that a little later. So just put these somewhere safe, put it in a pile, and make sure you don't lose them. So the next thing we're going to work on is our shark's mouth. Now that's really important, right? We think of sharks as having these really huge sharp teeth, and their mouths are really important. So we're going to start off with a red piece of construction paper, and this is where you get to make your shark smile or frown or look mean or happy or sad or however you want your shark to feel. Now I want my shark to look happy, right? So I'm going to give him this big smile like this. But I want to make sure that my smile isn't, way too big for my shark's face. So I'm going to take my plate, and I'm just going to make sure that whatever I draw is not going to be too big. So I'm going to go ahead and look, and I'm going to go compare the size of my plate, and I'm going to look at the red paper, and I'm going to think, well, I don't want it to be so big that it's coming off the paper, right? So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to take my pencil, and I'm just going to mark, kind of where I think it would be nice for how wide I want my smile to be. And if you need a grown-up here to help you out a little bit, that's totally fine. And we're going to just take our paper, and we're going to draw a big smile in between those 2 dots we just made. All right? So I'm just going to make a smile, and I'm just drawing this on here. All right. So now we have a big smile for our shark. Now we can go ahead and cut this part out too. And remember, you may need a grown-up to help cut this out. And you can just take a minute, pause your video, and cut this out real quick. All right, so I have mine cut out right here. I have my big smile. Now the next thing we need are a good pair of teeth, right? Because shark teeth, remember, they have lots and lots of rows. They're really sharp. A lot of people like to collect them. So we're going to go ahead and get out our white piece of construction paper, like this, and we're going to put our red mouth right on top. So this will make sure that our teeth aren't way too big for our mouth or way too small for our mouth. And we're going to go ahead and trace right around this big red piece to go ahead and get our teeth, to go ahead and get a good shape for them. All right, so we're just going to trace that, and I'll bet you already guessed it. We're about to cut it out. Awesome. All right. So once you go ahead and get this traced, just trace it right along. And before you even cut it out, I think it's a really good idea to go ahead and draw some teeth on here. Because right now this looks like we just have another big mouth, right? So we want some teeth in our mouth. So this is where you get to just draw some really cool looking teeth, however you want them to look on both the top row and the bottom row. Because that's what we have, right? We have our top row of teeth and our bottom row of teeth. So we're just going to draw some really big jagged lines across the top and some really big jagged lines across the bottom. And look, I got some really sharp shark teeth. That's pretty awesome, right? Yeah, so this is where you can pause the video and you're going to cut these out. And it's okay if it doesn't really go perfectly with the design that you just drew. As long as it's nice and sharp and jagged and you have 2 rows, you're good. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and remember you have those cut out. And you should now have a top row of teeth and a bottom row of teeth, right? So it's going to look something like this, right, where it's like, just like that. And these are going to go right onto the red piece of paper that you cut out. So just lay the red piece of paper down that has your mouth, and then you're going to lay down both sets of teeth. All right, and it should look something like this. See that? Here we have a nice smile with our sharp teeth, just like that. Yeah, awesome. So now we're going to take our glue stick, and we're just going to glue the back of our pieces of paper and try to get the side that has no pencil marks on it, right? So you want that to be on top. So you're actually going to glue the side that you see pencil marks on, and you're just going to glue that just like this. Just make sure you get glue all over it, make sure you get the sides, and then we're just going to stick that onto our mouth. All right, so it should fit really nicely, and you want to go a little bit below the top for the top row of teeth. That way you have a little bit of red showing off the top, just like that. And then you're going to do something similar for the bottom. So try to get, again, the side that has the pencil marks on it. Go ahead and glue that side. And then we're going to put it right here on the mouth again. Awesome, and now we have our shark mouth. Great job. So the next step, we have our eyes, we have our mouth. You might think he needs a nose, but if you think sharks have these really big noses, so we're actually not going to put that on our shark. But the next thing we need are some gills. Remember, that's how the shark can breathe. So the gills are essentially just these little lines. They're just like they're like a moon that's been kind of squished down. So they're called what we call a crescent, right? Just kind of like a really flat C. And I'll show you how these look. So if you draw these, they're just these lines, and you can look on your instruction paper too. They give a really good picture of what these look like. And you're going to draw 4 gills. You're going to draw 2 for one side and 2 for the other. It's going to look something like these right here. All right? And you're going to take a minute, again, pause the video and go ahead and cut these out. Okay, so I have these cut out also, and I'm just going to put them in my stack. This is what they're going to wind up looking like. They're just these little tiny lines. I'm going to put these in my stack with all the other parts. Awesome. And then the next part that I'm going to work on are my fins. And do you remember what fins a shark has? These are these really cool fins that allow them to swim really nicely in the water, and that big one that you see going over the top. So these are called the dorsal fins and the pectoral fins. So we're going to draw these on our paper, and again, you can just use the same white piece of paper. And we're going to draw these big fins. All right. And if you run out of room on this piece of paper, you should have another one just in case. So we're going to draw one big fin on top, and then we're going to draw 2 side fins. So draw one big fin, and I'm actually going to draw my 2 side fins right over here. Then we have a little more room. And these should be pretty big on your paper. That way, you know, they'll really show up. So here's what they look like. So here's the top one. That's my dorsal fin, and these are my 2 side fins. And you're just going to take a minute, and you're going to cut these out too. All right, so if you need an adult, that's totally fine. Go ahead and pause the video. All right, so I have mine cut out right here. And now we have all the parts to our shark. Well, we're almost done, right? We're almost to the end. And now all you have to do is put our shark together. That'll be a lot of fun. So make sure that your plate is all dry. So you should have your gray, dry plate. If it's not quite dry yet, you can pause the video. You can come back in just a couple of minutes and make sure it is. When you touch it, it shouldn't get anything on your hand, right? So we don't want anything messy going on. So once you get your gray plate, we're going to start putting everything together. And this is the really fun part, and this is actually the second page of the instruction sheet. So if you need a grown-up around, and if the grown-up needs any help as well, you can look at this How to Assemble page, and this gives the instructions. All right, so I'll walk you through it, and our glue stick is going to come in a lot of handy right now. So the first thing we're going to do is glue on our eyes. So we have our 2 eyes. Go ahead and make sure you have all your parts of your shark in a pile. And we have our 2 eyes right here. And these are going to go sort of on the center top of our plate, right? So we want these to go just where eyes would normally go. And my shark's going to look a little wacky. His eyes are going to be going in 2 crazy different directions, and that's totally fine, right? So you can make yours look however you want. So all you have to do is make sure you get some glue on the side where there's no little black dot, right? We want to go to the side that's just the white part. And we're going to put some glue on here. Awesome. And then we're just going to stick it sort of in the top corner of our plate. So right here, I'm just going to put mine right there. And it doesn't have to be perfect, you know, just do your best. And there we go. We have one eye on our shark. Now we're going to work on the other one, and we're going to do the same thing. Just glue the blank side. And then we're going to put that right here next to our first one. All right, so again, mine's going to look two totally different ways. Yours can be looking the same way, different ways, whatever you want. And we're just going to glue it on. Awesome, good job. So once we get that done, our next step is to glue on that mouth, right? So we worked really hard on that mouth. And we have our mouth right here. There you go. Yours might look a little different. That's totally fine. And our mouth is going to go kind of where you guess it would. It's just going to go right under our eyes, just like that. So we want to make sure that we get some glue, and we're going to put it on the side where there's not all these teeth. We don't want to cover up the teeth, so we're going to get the blank side again, get some glue on there. And we're just going to glue it right along the bottom. All right. And make sure when you put it down and you're actually sticking it to your plate, you kind of hold it down for a few seconds, and that really helps for it to stay on there for a long time so you can keep your shark. Now once that's done, we get to put on our gills. Do you remember what gills are? Remember, gills helps the shark to breathe underwater. All right, so we're going to go ahead and grab those, and those should be 4 little lines. And if you lost any, that's okay. You can just go ahead and cut out another one, okay? So these are really tiny. Try to keep them in a safe spot. So I have all 4 of mine here. And you're just going to glue all 4 of the backs, and you're going to stick them sort of below and next to the eyes. All right, so they're going to go right along here and right along this side as well. And if you drop your stuff, that's totally fine too. Because here, I just dropped my glue stick and I dropped one of these. So that's really easy to happen. So if you drop them, just pick them up, you know, keep going. All right, so we're going to just glue that on there. And then we're going to glue we're going to glue 2 on one side and 2 on the other. So you should have 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here. All right, so this might take a minute to go ahead and get all these on. But I'll tell you what, I have these on my big final one. So if you need to pause the video and go ahead and work on these for a minute, you can go ahead and do that. I'm just going to do 1 on each side just to show you how it looks like. All right. There you go. I just got 2 gills on mine. And then we're going to go ahead and start working on our fins. All right, so our fins, we're going to have 3 total, remember? Because we're going to have our dorsal fin, and we're going to have 2 of our pectoral fins, just like that. All right, so we're going to go ahead, and this part gets a little bit complicated, so if you need a grown-up, that's totally fine. But we're going to take our shark, and we're going to flip them upside down. All right, so we're going to put them upside down on our table, and this is where you have just the plain blank side facing toward you. And we're going to make sure that we have the eyes kind of toward the top. That way we can put our dorsal fin right here, right on the top of his head. So we're going to take a little bit of glue, and we're going to glue the plate. And we're going to glue the plate right along here where you have the flat part of your plate and some of these ridges. All right, so we're just going to glue some of this. And then we're going to take our dorsal fin, and we're going to put it right on the top. And make sure you get a lot of glue, because this part likes to fall off sometimes. Once you get it stuck on there, you should be good. All right, so it can go either way, and we're just going to take it and we're going to press it down right along the top. And this is the dorsal fin of our shark. So this is on the very, very top. And you can see this is how it looks from the back. Now if we flip it over, right now he looks like a unicorn, huh? Yeah, that's exactly what he looks like. He's got this little horn coming off the top of his head. That's how he's supposed to look right now. So now we're going to take both of our side fins. You should have them right here. And we're going to do sort of the same thing. So make sure that your shark is flipped over and you have the dorsal fin facing right at the top. And you're going to take the glue, and this time you're going to glue the sides of the plate. So just go right to the side and make sure you get a lot of glue just like we did before. All right, and when we do that, once we get enough glue on there, we're just going to take one of our side fins. And you want your shark's fins to be facing upwards, right? Because he's swimming, he's flapping around. So you want to make sure that when you take your fin and you put it on here, it's facing up. All right, so we're just going to do something like that. Awesome. And make sure it's stuck on there really well, so you might want to hold it for a few seconds, just to make sure. All right, and then we have one little tiny fin on here, as you can see. And then we're going to make sure that our plate's flipped over, the back's facing the top, and we're going to go ahead and do the other side as well. And then guess what? You're going to be done with your shark. Yay! It'll be lots of fun. All right, so once you get a lot of glue on there, we're going to go ahead and take the other side, and we're going to make sure this side's facing up too. Yeah, just like that. That way both sides are facing up. We're going to take it on here, we're going to press it. Just hold it for a few seconds. Make sure we got all the glue on there. Holding it down. Awesome. All right, and look at this. We have our shark. Awesome. So awesome job on this. And we're done with our first craft. Wow. So now you can go tell anyone at your house all about the different parts of the shark. Remember the different parts of the eyes, the teeth, the gills, the fins, and the dorsal fin, right? So here's my original shark. Remember, this one has a 2 gill. So yours will look a little different because you're going to have 2 gills on yours. All right, and once you're done, that's it. Thank you for joining the first lesson of Shark Attack.